You're watching PowerNation. We get to build a lot of cool engines in the shop, and sometimes we push them to the limit in the dyno cell.
But we rarely get to see what happens after they're installed into project vehicles.
Today on Engine Power, we'll show you how some of our favorite engines perform once they leave the shop and hit the road.
A lot of different power plants have come through the Engine Power shop. This year alone, we've done over a dozen different projects. Everything from straightforward refresh jobs all the way up to full tilt builds starting with a bare engine block. And the saying goes that people love all of their children equally, but I'm not sure that sentiment applies to engines. We definitely have our favorites, and today we're going to share them with you.
Many of our engines are purpose-built for the Carcass, Music City trucks, and Detroit muscle shops. In most cases, they give us information on what they need for their particular vehicle, and we build it around their specs. Like Carcass's 1989 C1500 Chevy that has a first-gen small block under the hood.
So this is going to be a pro touring truck. That's kind of the hot thing right now, it seems like. There's a lot of outlets that you can go to compete, and we want to make this thing stick to the ground and go as fast as it can doing it.
Okay.
And again, it's going to be a driver too. The plan is to drive it where we go.
Okay.
So you're talking like autocross stuff?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Okay.
So, hammer on it.
Yeah, hammer on
Come
it.
back.
So,
And you want to use this?
no, that's where you guys come in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you want to use then?
Well, you know, we've talked about this a lot, and the easiest route for us to go, and the easiest way I think for us to build some power is to just put an LS in it.
How much you guys trying to make?
We really haven't talked too much about that, have we?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think 500 to 600 range would be pretty much perfect.
I don't think that's a problem. We can make that happen. So
Yeah.
I'm just impressed in how nice this thing is.
Our foundation was a 6-liter iron block LS. It's a strong, rigid block with 4-bolt mains, a 4-inch bore, and tons of aftermarket support. Simply put, it's built for making horsepower. It was easy to source almost everything we needed from Summit Racing equipment. Parts such as pistons, camshafts, lifters, and even the oil pan and valley cover.
Summit Racing's Pro LS line gets our build going with a forged 4340 crankshaft, along with their hydraulic roller cam designed for this higher RPM stroker. Summit's 4032 forged pistons were outfitted with Total Seal gas-ported rings and tapped into the bores. Jimmy and Jeremy wanted this engine to turn some heads, so we painted it universal gold.
If you want more power, you need more airflow. We tested these Trick Flow Gen X 255 cylinder heads, and at 700 thousandths inch lift, they flowed an impressive 385 CFM on the bench. So, onto the engine block they went. They come assembled, and we topped them off with 1.7 ratio rockers.
FiTech's sequential port fuel injection system came with a fabricated sheet metal intake, matching 102mm throttle body, complete wiring harness with 2 oxygen sensors, 55-pound injectors, and a full set of LS smart coils.
Once everything was set up in the dyno cell, we entered our engine's parameters into the touchscreen, and we were ready to go.
Yeah, 84
Wow.
and 11. That's the heat right there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, it's dead consistent, dead reliable. It's ready. I mean, it's ready for it. You guys can take it.
This nice thing about it, you can bolt these things together and make that kind of power without any problem at all.
Yeah,
So-
you got it.
Easy power.
It's easy power.
Yeah. Good injection, good heads, good internals.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's it.
that's good horsepower.
We're gonna give it the once over and make sure everything looks good. We'll have it down to you once we get it off the dyno.
Awesome,
Sounds
appreciate
great,
it, guys.
All right.
No problem.
There's no better place to reveal a project like this than the C10 Nationals. And this year it was taking place just down the road at the Nashville Superspeedway. So there was no doubt this truck would be there.
At the C10 Nationals, we were able to take our truck on the autocross course. That was kind of half of the build. The other half of the build was physically driving the truck there. That's why it's a pro touring truck. Jimmy had this great idea when we first started to build the truck to do something completely different in the rear, just something we had never done before, and that's kind of a cantilever style where the shocks run kind of horizontal inboard on the truck. So we set that all up, and it was actually pretty crazy to sit in the passenger seat, which I was able to do a couple times, and watch the rear suspension as we went around the track. Your suspension's working all the time.
The engine was flawless, man. Like the kind of power delivery, how smooth it was. It's really important to have that characteristic on an autocross course, just because there's so much control you have just with the throttle, going around turns, making the truck steer or not steer with the throttle. Acceleration and braking are huge parts of actually reducing your time on the track. So to be competitive, you got to have a lot of power and deliver it smoothly. This will probably be my favorite project that I'll ever build while being here. It's just the sentimental value of the truck and how it turned out, kind of paying homage to the original two-tone that these trucks came with, but making it this truly high-performance sport truck, and having kind of my hands on the engineering side with the rear suspension. And man, it's like everything that I like was combined into one vehicle, and that couldn't make me more happy.
Coming up, we give a classic AMC a major power gain.
And then we help Music City Trucks achieve Trashhawk performance at a Trashhawk price. A while back, the guys down in the Detroit Muscle Shop asked us to work on their 304 out of their Javelin project. They wanted to keep that stock engine, but since it only made 130 horsepower at the wheel, it was going to need some big improvements.
Our first impression was not good.
Look at that.
Under the intake manifold, it looked like the bottom of a charcoal grill, and the valve train was just as crusty. On the other hand, the cylinders and the piston skirts weren't too bad. There was a good foundation for a rebuild somewhere under all those layers of carbon deposits.
Little ridge on the top there.
Yep. We decided to reuse the stock crankshaft since the journals were still round and in good shape. We checked the journals with a micrometer to make sure the crank was within spec, and used a 600 grit and polishing belt to get rid of the scratches. We only removed a couple 10,000ths worth of material, so it didn't affect sizing much at all.
The Sunnon SV15 cylinder hone took care of the ridges that developed in the cylinder walls and gave them the appropriate crosshatch pattern for our application. We honed the bores 60 thousandths oversized for a set of new OEM-style replacement pistons. A billet hydraulic roller from Comp was next. Duration at 50 thousandths lift is 224 degrees on the intake and 230 degrees on the exhaust. Lobe separation angle is 110 degrees. Lift at both valves is 513 thousandths.
Unlike most engines, the oil pump housing is cast into the front cover. A rebuild kit we got from Summit Racing Equipment allowed us to refresh the oil pump internals and reuse our existing front cover. The OEM-style replacement pistons finished up the rotating assembly. Once the ARP rod bolts were torqued to spec, they were checked with ARP's rod bolt stretch gauge.
Due to our engine's smaller bore size, we needed to modify the block for the intake valve clearance on the heads we wanted to run. It was worth it because the Edelbrock Performer RPM 401 aluminum cylinder heads gave us plenty of airflow. Next, we dropped in Comp hydraulic roller lifters and a set of push rods. Harlan Sharp 1.6 ratio rockers completed the valve train.
The intake was an Edelbrock ProFlow 4 sequential port fuel injection system, giving this classic engine modern drivability and tunability. A few easy connections were made, and then we set up the engine using the tablet provided.
Oh my goodness, this is fun.
I can't get over how easy it was. I mean, we literally just
That was super easy.
yeah, went through the setup real quick. It fired right up, set the timing, and then set IAC. And
that's a lot of nice engineering
really nice
for having something like that.
Yeah.
That easy to set up. And true port fuel injection, right?
Yeah.
Throttle bodies are nice. You can do throttle body injections. They program nice, but this is a different animal. You know, this is true, you know, multi-port fuel injection on a 70s engine.
yeah. We made a few dyno runs, settling on 34 degrees total timing and a 13.3 target air fuel ratio.
Well, what do you think?
Man, that thing sounds healthy.
for a 304.
I know it's a little baby cubic inch, but it doesn't sound baby cubic inch.
It's got as much chop as a 304 can have. Oh, look at that stuff right there. 337 horse at 5,500. It actually made nice torque as well. It made 333 at 4,700.
Man, that's really good for that little bitty cubic inch that it is.
Well, now in 74, I think these were rated at 210 horsepower, and we know exactly what it made on the chassis.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
I think we could safely say we probably doubled it at the tire.
Our power estimate wasn't too far off the mark. When the Javelin returned to the shop with its refreshed 304, it made 223 horsepower and 233 pound-feet of torque at the wheel. That's a 71% horsepower gain.
We recently got a chance to head back out on the road, and our first big trip was to the MATCO Tools Expo. We were really excited to see old friends and meet new ones. It turns out we weren't the only ones who felt that way.
What it means to me is just bringing all of our MATCO distributors and their family together, and we're family here. This is where we get to mingle, get together, spend some time, and reminisce, talk about how last year went, what we're projecting, what we're going to do this year, and we push and we lean on one another, motivate each other, because our distributors are our race team. They keep me going each and every time, and they're in our corner. This is my motivation force that pushes me through the year and keeps me striving to go to that next level.
Antron Brown inspires people, and they inspire him. MATCO distributor Daniel Werda experienced it firsthand. Not only did Antron welcome him into the MATCO family, on his first anniversary with MATCO, Antron rode along with him on his route.
I got to see my customers, and that was just a very special thing. So I've kind of gotten this bond with Antron because he was there when I got into MATCO. He was there on my 1-year anniversary.
So I've been with some really, really good distributors, and everybody does it different. It's not one way that's right, not one way is wrong. It's just what works to your liking and to your personality. Just be you, be the best version of yourself, and just show up and build them personal relationships. That's how you make dreams a reality. That's how you make the unbelievable believable.
If you're interested in being your own boss and sharing your passion for automotive tools and technology with others, consider becoming a MATCO Tools distributor.
Up next, an LS engine in a homemade Trashhawk? Why not? In the past few months, one of our spiciest engines to come out of the shop and go into a project vehicle was our 427 cubic inch LSX Extreme Crate engine from Late Model Engines. The guys down in Music City Trucks asked us for a power plant worthy of their Trashhawk inspired Jeep build, and they only had one request. It's gotta have a supercharger.
And for that supercharger, we chose a built-to-order root style unit from Magnuson. It's designed for C6 Corvettes powered by the LS7. Since the manifold bolts go through the base of the supercharger, we got a chance to take a look at the impressive build quality of this piece. We used a light touch installing this supercharger. The intake manifold bolts and the lid bolt only need to be torqued to 106 pound-inches.
An SFI-approved harmonic damper is a wise choice for high-powered engines. This ATI unit we ordered from Summit Racing Equipment did the job nicely. Once the front accessory drive was bolted up, we moved on to the fueling system. We chose FiTech's Ultimate LS standalone ECU system. It's a self-learning setup that replaces the factory ECU and has capabilities for both street and performance applications. We paired it with their 102mm throttle body.
90 pound-per-hour fuel injectors were the perfect choice for this high-powered build. FiTech's fully labeled wiring harness helped us get the electrical system ready to go in no time flat. The Magnuson kit includes a heat exchanger for the supercharger, which we temporarily mounted to the dyno cart. Finally, we uploaded a calibration to the ECU and mixed up some 103-octane race gas.
Right off the bat, the engine made 697 horsepower and 591 pound-feet of torque. But there was an easy way to make more boost and more power. We swapped the supercharger's 96mm drive pulley for an 84mm one. Immediately, the engine put out 788 horsepower and 677 pound-feet of torque. Not surprising, since boost jumped from 4 pounds to 6. Mark was hard at work on the Jeep, but we wanted him to see what his engine could do. Hey man, come check this out.
Are you ready for this?
Sounds rowdy.
785 horse, 685 pound-feet of torque.
Whoa!
That's not
the
bad.
number.
We are pretty styling on our
Rate your
power.
goal?
Yeah. I mean,
Is that enough?
707.1 would have been enough.
The part that gets me is the torque. I mean, look at the torque. 650 from 3,500 all the way to 6.
Oh, it's just, yeah.
Over. I mean, that's...
All the torque, all the time.
Music City Trucks dreamed of a Jeep that would give them Trashhawk performance at a budget price. In that spirit, they named their ride Trashhawk. After a few warm-up laps at NCM Motorsports Park, Mark cut loose.
Let's see what she'll do.
What a ripper.
When I dreamed up this concept of using an XJ to build a Trashhawk knockoff, I never dreamed it would turn out to be such a cool and impressive truck. It's a counterfeit, and a poor one at that. It's powered by an LS, not a Hemi. It's a manual instead of a zippy modern auto, and it's rear-wheel drive, a huge difference from the all-wheel drive Trashhawk. But it just works. It handles like a sports car, it's got a ton of grip, plenty of braking, and accelerates coming out of the turns like a banshee. It's a little sketchy, but in a way that makes it more fun to drive. Is it a Trashhawk? No, but it's better in so many ways. Plus, it just looks cool. Have fun.
This truck's awesome.
Yes, it is.
Oh, this is the first time driving this thing.
Be safe out there.
Woohoo! Oh my God, this thing's a handful. This thing is awesome! Holy cow!
There's no explaining this. you have to drive this. Up next, when it comes to conquering the hill, a heavy dose of low-end torque is always your best friend. Music City Trucks was looking for a rock-solid, reliable power plant for their 1991 Chevy Suburban trail rig, which they had named Unbreakable. Our suggestion, a tried-and-true 383 cubic inch small block Chevy.
We started with a bare block, which received an Eagle crankshaft, a 4340 forged piece with a 3750 stroke, a solid roller camshaft from Comp slid into place, followed by their double row billet timing set. After a good coat of Total Seal assembly lube, the Molle Power Pack pistons went into place. A 3-piece timing cover granted easy access to the camshaft for future timing adjustments.
Solid roller lifters were followed by AFR 220 eliminator cylinder heads. After that, the push rods and 1.6 ratio Harlan Sharp rockers. A single plane manifold from AFR was bolted down with ARP fasteners in a black oxide finish. To give the engine a distinct look, red fire metallic engine enamel was laid over a red base coat.
A billet O-ring sealed oil filter adapter from Summit Racing Equipment was the first piece of the oiling system, much nicer than the cast aluminum stock piece. It was followed by a Summit Pro Pack oil pan kit, including the oil pump, drive shaft, pickup, and a 6-quart baffled pan with a gasket.
Our initial dyno run yielded peak numbers of 503 horsepower and 477 pound-feet of torque. Making good use of the 3-piece timing cover, we quickly adjusted the camshaft timing from 2.5 degrees retarded to 10 degrees advanced. This improved torque but decreased peak horsepower. Since Unbreakable would be a trail rig, Brandon and Mark chose robust low RPM torque over higher peak horsepower. 290 horsepower at 6,300, but 492 pounds of torque, 492.7.
So on average, below that 5,500 mark, we would be averaging at least 15 more pound-feet.
Yeah.
And possibly even more and lower in the RPM range that you didn't even sample.
Right, it has more torque and it has more horsepower.
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it? That's what I thought. All right. Changing where the cam's position is definitely affects where it makes torque and where it makes power.
Oh yeah, and I've seen entire cam swaps that didn't make that big of a difference.
Yeah. So this is
cool.
This was a fun one to do. So we didn't want to hold you up too much.
Okay.
You guys got stuff to do, but you'll see this in a little bit. So.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thanks.
Awesome.
This is doing it, man. It's doing it.
Once the project was complete, the Music City Trucks crew explored the trails at Adventure Off-Road Park, and now they had plenty of low-end grunt to conquer the hill.
Woo! We've really enjoyed seeing our engines in action, and we hope you have too. It is always rewarding to us when one of our builds finds a great home.
We're working on a lot of new projects, including fan favorites and some off-the-wall builds. But if you want to learn more about anything you've seen today, you can go to PowerNationTV.com.